Welcome to Roadmap to the Arts. I'm your host, Kathleen Reckling. Today, we're heading to the riverside of Westchester County to visit two of our Arts Award honorees, Tarrytown Music Hall and Bethany Arts Community. Tarrytown is on the list of 1,000 places to see before you die, and a must-see spot there is the Tarrytown Music Hall. This historic theater has hosted acclaimed acts and historical figures from Theodore Roosevelt to the boss himself, Bruce Springsteen. The venue was lively during our visit because they were setting up for a concert. We spoke with Executive Director Bjorn Olsen. Hi, Bjorn.
Hi, how are you?
Good, how are you? Pretty excited to be here at the music hall.
Welcome.
So do you prefer Tarrytown Music Hall, the music hall? What do you call it? What
We tried for a long time to make it what the original name actually is, which is the Music Hall Theater.
Oh, okay.
But everybody does say the Tarrytown Music Hall, so that's kind of what we all revert to at the end, I think. So
Awesome.
it's all good because everybody knows what the music hall is, I think. So.
Well, this is a pretty interesting lobby space. You were telling me a bit when we spoke before that there's different elements in here from different time periods. How did that come about?
Well, what happened, there was a huge theater boom sometime in the 1920s and 30s when vaudeville kind of cross-sectioned with the new film elements.
Mm-hmm.
We were built way before that, but this entrance came back from the side street sometime around there. And then they had these amazing catalogs where you could just go, like, I'll have 6 of those, I have 4 of those. And I always say you could teach a whole art semester in here because you have classical, medieval, Art Deco, all sorts of styles, Art Nouveau in the ceiling. But it all kind of comes together and creates a really cool space, I think.
At our Arts Award Luncheon this year, we're recognizing the Tarrytown Music Hall with the Milestone Award, celebrating the fact that it's been in the community for 140 years and has really been not just a theater in the community, but an anchor and essential part of the Tarrytown character. Can you tell us a little bit about the history of the theater, when it was built, how it was built, and what you do here today?
So that is also, I think, what separates my job in an historic theater from just any other venue. You realize when you're in this place that you are a link in a chain. You're passing through, you're getting it from somebody and you're handing it over to somebody, hopefully a little better than you found it. And then, I sat here in March in 2020. Mm-hmm. Theater was dark. We had been shut down by the governor. We didn't know, but we were going to continue to be shut down for 460 days.
Wow, 460
But then I sat there and I'm going, you know what? About 100 years ago, some other guys sat here, whoever had my job at the time, thinking how we're going to get through the Spanish flu, because they had a global pandemic then.
Right.
There's going to be another guy 100 years from now facing whatever challenges, might be at that time. And you realize, you know what? It's going to be fine because this is more than just a space. Mm-hmm. And that's what separates. It's not, historic theater doesn't mean that history necessarily happens in here. It means that history happens around it. Mm-hmm. And it's the collective memory. Not only have people come here for events, our parents, grandparents, great-grandparents have been here, maybe their first dates, maybe they came to a flower show, roller skating, movies, whatever it was. But it's also been on Main Street, a part of the community as a whole. When we were opened in 1885, the Civil War was 20 years away. So
right.
The whole country had just gone through all that. Grover Cleveland had just been sworn in as president, and the Statue of Liberty had just arrived in New York Harbor on a ship from France.
Wow.
We had, when we first started out here, one of the first things we did was we renovated the movie booth, the projector booth. Mm. So we had a week in the movies, and we wanted to show some older movies, so we show A Gone with the Wind. Now, Gone with the Wind is a very long movie, has an intermission.
Yes.
So at intermission, I was standing at the back of the house. 3 ladies come up to me saying, we're sitting in the same spots we sat in 1939 when we saw it for the first time.
Oh, I love that.
So now you put your head next to the wall, and you can hear the echoes, right? You hear the echoes. We had Antonin Dvorak, the Czech composer.
Oh.
He was in America gathering materials for his New World Symphony, and he played here.
Wow.
Woodrow Wilson, Theodore Roosevelt have spoken here. Irving Berlin has played his music in here. And then in more recent days, B.B. King, Bruce Springsteen, John Bon Jovi, Trevor Noah, all of these voices are in the walls.
Wow. After learning more about the venue's history, we got a full behind-the-scenes tour, taking a deep dive into the programs, lore, operations, and vision for the music hall's future.
So in the early days, after they sort of rescued the theater, it took them a while to get everything ready to reopen. So one of the things they did first was actually these spaces here to create apartments and retail stores, so that would be some kind of income, and that actually carried a lot of the theaters of the music hall in the early years. Now, gradually over time, as we have grown, we have started to take these spaces back because we have more staff and we have more activity. So today we have a music lesson here in our little studio. We also purchased the property behind the theater, because when we started here, we had no parking, zero, not one spot. So we remember giving out quarters to Dave Brubeck and saying, I hope you can find parking somewhere, come back and we'll have sound check. So that also has allowed us to expand our programming. We couldn't exist on the level that we do now if we hadn't somewhere to stick a tour bus or two. But that building, luckily, also came with a dance studio. It was the home of the first home of the Fred Astaire Dance Studio, who are now in Sleepy Hollow.
Oh, that's great.
And then they moved out and thought, wait, that's perfect for our academies.
We got one last walk through the venue before heading out. Just a short ride north takes us to Ossining and the Bethany Arts Community. Bethany hosts workshops, after-school programs, is home to artist studios, exhibitions, and a wide range of public programming. Frankly, we couldn't have picked a better day to stop in because the site was bursting with school tours of the African American History and Culture Month exhibition. We were given a tour of the grounds by Executive Director Bonnie Bradley, Development Director Nancy Zallo, and Board President Jessica Irons. The Bethany Arts Community really is a true community for all the arts. You drive onto the campus and you see artists at play. And it's a space where all artists have an opportunity to present and share their work. So tell us a bit about the space that we're currently in and what happens here.
Okay, we are currently in our performance space. So it is multifunctional. As you see, we have the set of Spirit of Truth that was just going during our Black History Month. But it also functions as a place where people do dance. As you see, we have a sprung dance floor at the bottom, and it's multifunctional. So we have concerts here, we have children's theater here, we have a singer-songwriter circle that happens every 4 months here. So basically, it's a multi-purpose use room.
Bethany is a venue, but it's also home to a dynamic community of working artists who have studios on the campus. We were in luck. Mary Ellis and Lori Gans were hard at work in their studios. How long have you been at Bethany?
So I've been here for about 8 years.
Oh, wow.
And so I was here from the very beginning.
That's awesome. Do you live in the area?
Yes, I live in Croton.
Oh, beautiful. Oh, wow. Tell me a little bit about your work and what your influences are.
Yeah. Well, right now, I'm working on a series where I start with figure drawing.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm sort of obsessed with shapes and what shapes sort of say. And so I'm trying to kind of pull out of figure drawing with abstract realities of the structures that are underneath, that are supporting.
What keeps you at Bethany as an artist?
I would say the people here, Bonnie for sure. And no, just that all of us are so different from each other.
Mm-hmm.
You come here and I'll hear like the ladies of hip hop in the auditorium.
Nice.
I can hear the beats and the drums, and you know, there's a really wonderful feeling about hearing other people work very intensely of what they're passionate about.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, that's what I love so much about this place. space.
When you're working on a piece, what is, or in this case, this is many pieces all at once, what's your inspiration or what's driving you?
It's an internal energy
Mm-hmm.
that just comes through. It's very hard to describe, but it's very intuitive, and it's totally emotional.
Mm.
You know, so that all the tools that I have kind of come together and just like work. But I have to be in a particularly peaceful place.
Mm.
Right?
Yeah, so you couldn't pick. The setting is beautiful, but it also,
Right.
so far, everyone that I've spoken to has spoken really highly of the community that's here. What
Yes.
keeps you at Bethany?
That's it.
Yeah.
I mean, I have a studio at home,
Mm-hmm.
and actually during COVID, and getting ready for that show
Mhm.
of yours,
Yeah.
I felt incredible isolation. I knew this was here, but didn't, I was involved here, but never thought about having a studio. But that's what did it.
So we wanted to share with you our teen residency that happened a few weeks ago. We had 8 teens join us from a few different high schools in even beyond Westchester County, actually, from Monroe, then Mount Vernon, Tarrytown, Ossining, and Croton, I think. And they spent a long weekend at Bethany, and when they first got started, we invited them up here to this solarium, and they created a community agreement on how they wanted the weekend to flow for them. And these are their agreements, and then they all signed it. So it was a really beautiful part of the weekend. And then the rest of the weekend, they worked together. They created art together and by themselves, and then they presented it to their parents.
So pleased, Jessica, that you're joining us. You are president of the board at Bethany Arts Community, and we're so honored, really, to be recognizing the work that Bethany does with the Sophie Abelese Education Award. Tell us about what Bethany does around arts and education.
Well, we're really honored that you are recognizing us. So Bethany has, because the entire experience of Bethany is a conversation, the impact of having youth programming, so arts classes, guest artists that, there are programs like Little Leaf that come and make their home here in the forest. That's a nursery school, Theater O. We do performances here. We have Bethany has this amazing Camp Create, where it's multi-disciplinary. It's kind of like our artist residencies, but for little people, right? They do everything. They get their hands in everything. And at the same time, there are professional artists in residence. And the artists are inspired by the kids, and the kids are inspired by the artists. And the conversation that they have, there's so many children are coming on our campus right now. And for the Black History Month exhibit, Black History and Culture Month exhibit, there will be 4,000 kids, we think, who will come through, and their voices are echoing in the hallways while there are studio artists down the hall experiencing the impact that this exhibit is having on the kids, which in turn affects their work.
After a tour around the grounds, Community Engagement and Outreach Coordinator Julia Schoenberg gave us deeper insight into the current exhibition and their multi-generational docent program.
It's So this year's Black History and Culture exhibit is titled Eyes Wide Open. We host an exhibit every year. This is our 5th annual exhibit, curated by Joyce Chirac Cole, who is the Ossining Village historian. This year's exhibit, the theme is Eyes Wide Open, which is all about stories and inventors and doctors and Black military. So stories and people in the Black community who have often, stories that have often been twisted or pushed down or not seen or heard. So we are encouraging folks to have eyes wide open to stories that have not often been told about Black history and culture. So our docent program is a really special program that we host. This is the biggest docent program we've had of all the 5 years of the exhibit. We have an adult docent program of about 16 volunteers from our community who come and train with Joyce to give tours of the exhibit throughout the month and a half to schools. So this year we have about 7, I think, school districts, 7 school districts coming to tour the exhibit around 7 school districts around Westchester. And then we also have a high school docent program. So we're working with directly with the Ossining High School, the My Brother's Keeper program, as well as they have a program called Prestigious Ladies of Power. And there's about 10 students from Ossining High School who have come to the exhibit and trained with Joyce over the course of one day. And then they give 6 hours of tours throughout the month and a half to their peers. So to Ossining elementary school students, Ossining middle school students, as well as high school students. And we also have a 5th grade docent program, students from Roosevelt School, the 5th grade school in Ossining. And they have trained also with Joyce to give tours. And whenever their peers come, their classes come, they stand up and give tours alongside the high school students as well. So they're working together, and then often with our adult docents too. So it's sort of 3 generations of tour guides working together to share this material with the community.
When I first came to Bethany, David has 2 questions for me and for everyone who comes here. And they are, what can't we do? Which is, we have limitless possibility here, and that is very much at the nut. And how can we help? And he always asks, and now we always ask each other and people who come through the doors, how can we help?
Thank you for joining us for Roadmap to the Arts. We'll see you next time.